It is time for Korea On Demand K-Arts. And as always, joining us live on Zoom, Sonya. Sonya, hello to you. Good to see you.
Hello.
Sonya, as always, we get a nice introduction to, I guess, an interesting artist that you want to share to all of our listeners out there. And this time, we're going to talk about an artist by the name of Byun Shi-ji. So can you briefly introduce the biography and the life of this artist, Byun Shi-ji?
Yes, so Byun Shi-ji was born in 1926 in Seogwipo, Jeju Island. He moved to Japan with his family at the age of 6. He graduated from Osaka Art School and later moved to Tokyo. He was recognized for his talent very early by the Japanese art community. Then he returned to Korea to find his identity after being evaluated by the Japanese art world at the time that his paintings were fundamentally different from those of the Japanese. So at the age of 31, he was invited to Korea as an art professor at Seoul National University at a very young age. He then founded the Byun movement, we call it Byunpa, which studied Korean palaces to explore Korean beauty as he tried to abandon Western philosophy and pursued a new realism, really pioneering a new Korean painting style back then. At the age of 50, he left his family in Seoul behind and returned to Jeju, taking up a professorship in Jeju National University. And in 2007, at the age of 81, he was the first living Asian artist to be invited to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. in the United States and exhibited two of his large-scale masterpieces for 10 years.
So, I mean, we're talking about quite an illustrious career that he has, and I believe he is the late Byun Shi-ji, right? He has passed away, and as you can tell, born in 1926, he started off his career very young. So, which also means that, with his career, a career like this, there was a number of awards that he was able to receive.
Well, when talking about him, one thing that cannot be left out is definitely the award history of Hue. So when he was only 23, he was the youngest painter ever to win the highest prize at Japan's then the most prestigious art group, Hue. And the following year, he served as a judge. At that time, the news said a young Korean painter received the top prize at such young age became a huge topic. So Japan's NHK broadcasting station covered it as a feature for a week. So you can guess how big of a sensation it was, not only in the Japanese art world, but also in Japanese society as a whole. And this record remains an unprecedented record that has not been broken to this day. After winning the award, it is said that each exhibition has received a lot of interest from Japanese collectors.
Yeah, let's talk about one of the modifiers of the artist change and something that's the painter of the storm. Tell us about this.
Well, Byun's move to Jeju marked a very significant period of change and artistic flourishing in his life. This era, we call it the Jeju era. It spans from 1975 until his passing in 2013. It was during this time that he sought answers to his lifelong quest for identity and completed a remarkable body of work. He found the essence of Jeju in the wind. So regarding the Jeju wind, he wrote that if you plant seeds, the seeds and soil are blown away, leaving only stones, and you can imagine the barren land of Jeju and the lives of the islanders at the time. So in his paintings, a stooped man facing a stormy sea often appears, and this image aroused sympathy from many people as a human figure in the turbulence, anxiety, and solitude of life. The conflict between Jeju's wind and waves and life and death in the work is in line with also Hemingway's novel, The Old Man and the Sea, which depicts the endless battle between humans and nature.
And the great thing about some of his art pieces that depict, again, Jeju is that, he was in Jeju around the time before it became like this touristy area, vacation spot, filled with people. We're talking about the untouched Jeju of when, it was just the people of Jeju that lived there. And this is where I get very excited. Now, this is an opportunity for me to check out some of his art. Tell us some of his representative works. What are the customs of Jeju that was revealed in Byun's works?
So he built a very unique body of work that expresses the threatening solitude of human beings through elements that are very representative to Jeju, such as a horse, black crows, a choga, which is a traditional Jeju house, a boat, an old pine tree. His work is deeply imbued with the reverence for nature and the fundamental human solitude. So through such local, very regionally specific symbols, Byun answered Pogo Gang's old question, where do we come from and where are we going? Constantly questioning the truth of life. He abandoned actually all colors and returned to this golden yellow lights and thick black lines, achieving something very, very universal.
So the painting that we're showing is called Majung, and it's just that, right? The yellow, goldish yellow, solid colors, a big, thick black lines. So tell us more about this art piece.
So this one, first thing that strikes me the most is the vibrant color of the background that is almost golden. And right in the middle, there is this old man with a cane looking a little bit sad. And there's a pony right next to him, looks like keeping him company. There's a black boat in the ocean. And in front, there is this Jeju traditional house, which is called choga. And then next to it, there's a pine tree. So the scenery itself is very, very Jeju, but not right now, but, back in the day, something that's very like original. But the sentiment that we get to feel from this painting is that it's something that's kind of lonely, a little bit sad, a little bit depressing, but yet it looks magnificent. It's exuding so much light, so much power. And I think this is why a lot of people love his work.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned loneliness as one of the key words here, because if you look at this, there's one tree, one house, one boat, one elderly man, one horse, and it's just like exudes. But what I like about this, when I first saw this before the show began, and I was looking at his art piece, and specifically this one that stood out, is you look at it, and then if like the first impression of this is like, man, it's so simple. It's something that anyone could have drawn. But then if you look deeply into this, like the yellows, the shades of yellow, the background that he used, I mean, it's a very complicated piece of art here. And something so simple exudes so much message, I think. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you can tell, despite the bright, vibrant color, that there's a whole lot of loneliness in this. Let's take a look at our next painting here, done by Byun, which uses a completely different kind of color here. Tell us about this art piece.
So this one is a little bit more brown, toned down color in the background. The ocean is just this crazy wind going on. Maybe it's a typhoon. There's a big island right in the middle. And not like the previous one, this one is more about the absolute loneliness, the absolute solitude that is so fundamental and almost existential to human beings. What do you think?
Was he a lonely guy? Because I do feel the same.
He was kind of a lonely guy, yeah.
I just feel the same thing, but at the same time, like it was different in that with the other painting, it was more calm, right? But with this, not only do you feel solitude with this, but you could also feel the power of nature, because there's a lot of waves, and you can even tell. I like his brushwork, I have to say. And just using his brushwork, you can tell that there's big, waves going on, and that the weather itself is not so good. But you're right. In both paintings so far, it's all about solitude. There's one of everything: one horse, one man, one house, and then one little huge rocky area in the ocean. But this shows power of nature, in my opinion, to be honest with you. Oh, yeah. You see, Chris Rowe says you can really feel the wind in that image. Yeah, absolutely. Whereas the first one was a little bit more calm. But I want to say, though, the color is interesting. That was a beautiful piece of work as well. Did he frequently use ocher and golden colors? Where does that come from, the use of these colors?
So it's not that he started painting like this as soon as he came down to Jeju, because during his Byun Pa period in Seoul, he used actually a lot of vibrant colors to express the Korean palaces in detail. He felt that the beauty of Jeju was something that's completely different. So he really immersed himself in finding a new technique to paint Jeju. Obviously, it was so challenging and difficult for him that he would even hover around the what's called Suicide Rock in Seogwipo because it was just so painful. Then one day he woke up from a nightmare and then he just felt disgusted by the natural colors of Jeju showed on TV. Then he looked at the canvas and the canvas started to fill up with this ochre color. It was that the moment he found the color of Jeju. He wrote that actually on a flight from Seoul to Jeju as he was coming down to Jeju, leaving his family behind in Seoul. He said that he saw the hot subtropical light illuminated the land of Jeju, and it was so bright that it was turned to white and then turned ochre. So the color he saw on the plane was actually reborn as his color of Jeju, the color of Earth where humans are born, and the color of the origin.
So that's how it's pronounced, ochre and not ocher. I mean the color.
Or is it golden, yellowish?
Yeah, I mean, you could obviously tell art is not my forte here. But what is also very much striking, and I think people could kind of overlook this idea. In all the two paintings that we've seen so far, not only this sort of the golden yellowish color, but the black line, going back to that black line again, there's like a deep black being used a lot. Where does the black come from? And also, what are the emotions of the effects of both the ochre and the black being used together?
Well, if you imagine that there's no ochre color in the background, the black lines and the margins of the painting will kind of look like the traditional Korean painting. 수묵 담채화, and the artist actually left a lot of Oriental paintings with ink on Korean paper. And the fact that the black ink and blank spaces of Oriental paintings are expressed with European materials such as the canvas and the oil painting is also a very unique technique of Byun. And during his lifetime, well, like many other artists, he did not really like to be distinguished by a particular technique or material. And in his works, it's that human emotions such as solitude, anxiety, and longing, that we feel it through his paintings that really anybody can universally sympathize with, regardless of, whether you're Asian, whether you're European or American. Those kind of emotions are expressed by his unique technique of using these black lines from 수묵 담채화 and also using the oil painting that is from European material, which becomes his own visual language.
It's crazy because the dark black lines that he's using on the painting, it seems so simple. Like his drawing is so simple, but you combine that with the ochre, the background coloring, and it makes it so much more colorful and so much more complicated. There's so much more emotion because of that. And you're combining both something that's very complicated and something so simple. And I've never seen anything like this. I wish I could say it's so simple that I can draw it myself, but if you look deeper into it, it's really not. I can't. I really can't draw this.
And it took his whole life to be able to paint something like this.
Right,
know?
exactly.
Yeah,
and which is why it's so complicated even to look at this very painting. And there's going to be a common idea of solitude in a lot of his work, but let's talk about Byun's position in Jeju. Like, how popular was he? Because again, this is the first time, despite his career, his legacy that he left behind, this is the first time I've heard about him. How popular was he?
Well, while he was living in Jeju, he interacted a lot with the residents of the local community. So the public institutions such as Seogwipo City Hall or bank, police stations, they have his works in their collections. The Kilang Art Museum, where he is designated as a honorary director, has permanent exhibitions of his paintings and also a reproduction of his studio. There's also a memorial art festival commemorating the day of his death every year in Seogwipo City. So we can really say that in Jeju, there are still a lot of people, so many people that remember him and really respect him, admire his works.
I mean, I could imagine why, really, and that it really shows, because Jeju is an interesting place, I think, and I loved. I recently went to Jeju on my family vacation back a few months ago, and like Jeju's again, now there's so many visitors and things like that, and every time I go there, it seems like such a beautiful place, but at the same time, it is a very lonely place as well, which is why I think a lot of people say they want to do that whole, living in Jeju for a month kind of thing, and then some people kind of come back after a week because it's so lonely. There's so much solitude in it. And I think his picture, his paintings really show all this. But I also want to share this art piece that was, I believe, a part of his your Art Jeju Space exhibition poster, sort of.
So in commemoration of his 10th anniversary of his death, his paintings from the Jeju era that we talked about today will be exhibited at Art Jeju Space from tomorrow, actually, to September 30th. This is a solo exhibition of him held in Jeju for the first time in 3 years since 2020. The show has two parts, and part one, which is the first part of the show, presents 20 of his representative works, as well as the catalog, resume, and limited edition prints. It's a free exhibition. The gallery is located in the lobby floor of Lotte Hotel Jeju. You can contact us through Instagram at artjeju.official or email us artjeju@artjejukorea.com.
Again, this poster, which depicts one of his paintings as well, again, solitude, loneliness is the common thing, where now you're seeing a gentleman that's looking out into the sea with, I believe, what there is like a single boat in the ocean. And then again, I mean, something about solitude, and it doesn't seem, again, I mean, it really just shows you there is this common ground. There's the constant use of ochre, the constant use of these black lines, but I don't feel lonely. That's the thing. It's just weird. You're looking at
okay.
But no, there's a whole lot of solitude and there's a whole lot of loneliness going on, but me looking at it, I don't feel depressed. That's the thing. There are, there's some art pieces where you're looking at it, oh, man, I'm miserable, I'm lonely, I hate this. But this is, that's why there's the beauty of this, and it's just fascinating how something that seems so simple can be so complicated, and it's just so amazing. Once again, if you want to find out more about this, the gallery is located at the lobby of the Lotte Hotel Jeju. This is in the Chungmun Tourism Complex. Again, Instagram at artjeju.official or email them at artjeju@artjejukorea.com. Sonya, as always, thank you very much. This was a fascinating art piece. Looking forward to finding out more artworks from you. Until then, stay safe, stay dry. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
You can listen to Korea Now with me, SJ Lee, by downloading the Arirang radio application, or tune in online by visiting www.arirangradio.com. So make sure you tune in Mondays through Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Korea time.